This is Henry Washington, and you're listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast.
If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you smash the like and subscribe buttons. If you're listening to our podcast, go leave us a 5-star review. All of our links can be found in the video description or show notes below.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Average Joe Finances Podcast. I'm your host today, Tanya, the Money Life Coach, and today's guest is Adam Goldman. He's in the franchising space, and we can't wait to bring him on and share with you all of his insights. So welcome, Adam, to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself and share your story. Like, how did you get to where you are today?
So it's interesting. I was talking to my friends that are other entrepreneurs as well, and we shared this whole bond in that we're very unemployable, right?
Yeah.
So I went to business school, graduated in 2004, go Bears, right? Went to Haas at UC Berkeley. And when all my other friends at business school graduated, they were going to consulting at McKinsey or someplace else. And I was going to sell my business in Eastern Europe that I had running when I was there as a student. And so just never really fit in to this whole mold of corporate America. Did some real estate investing in the 2000s and came across where it was hard to buy good properties towards 2009, 2010. All the best properties were sold after this 2008 recession, and visited with a friend of mine. Is like, you should look at franchising. And I didn't know what franchising was. I thought it might be McDonald's or Burger King and flipping burgers, and just kind of was in a situation where I didn't know what I wanted to do, and really looked at 3 different businesses. It really resonated, the idea of an office cleaning master franchise in Houston.
Okay.
And since 2010 now, for 14 years, I've been really involved in the franchising space.
That's really cool. So it was a natural, like you knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur in some sense, or didn't want to follow the career path that a lot of people were put in a box to, or believed like that's going to make us happy, but you figured it out along the way. So how long have you been doing franchising now, and you're like a coach? So tell us a little bit more about that and like what you do.
So I've been in the franchising world for 14 years now, right?
Okay.
So I started out as a franchisee and a franchisor. I own the rights. It was a Northern California based company in the office cleaning space, and I own the right to the Houston market for office cleaning. It's called Vanguard Cleaning. It's a competitor to Janiking.
Okay.
And so own that for 8.5 years. I started this consulting gig in franchising part-time, and have been doing it now for 7.5 years total.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is I'm a connector. There are a lot of franchise brands out there. I work with a vast portfolio of pre-screened franchise brands in 75 industries. And for potential franchisees, my service is free, and I'm here to matchmake or connect. Kind of like the match.com of franchising.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Is that something you just created on your own, or do you see a need there and then you started putting it together? Or how did you create that?
So great question. I used a similar service when I started my business in 2010, my franchise business. I saw the value in something like this. It's my own business, but I have a back office that helps me to kind of vet different franchise brands and just kind of an infrastructure behind me.
Yeah. Yeah. And talk about a little bit why franchising, what people should consider if they're thinking about this is something they're interested in. I know, like you said, there's a lot of like misconceptions about franchises. What are some things you try to get people to think about if they're going to step into franchising or have questions about what does this look like? How much money does this cost? Like all those things.
Lots of things, right? We can talk for hours about this, right?
Yeah.
Look, we talked about some of the misconceptions. I think that franchising is not right for everyone, right? I think it's a perfect way for people. We talk about things such as ETA, which is a buzzword for entrepreneurship through acquisition, right? I believe in ETF, which is entrepreneurship through franchising. It's just, you got to be the right sort of person. And I think of akin franchising to kind of like riding a bike with training wheels or becoming an entrepreneur with training wheels, right? In an ideal situation. I mean, it's a situation where you have, in the right franchise business, you have the playbook and you have the system, and it can help you to potentially scale a business. And I talk to my average person that decides to invest in franchises is someone that's in corporate America.
Okay.
Maybe they're even doing this part-time and they have a spouse that might want to run this full-time at the beginning, but they really want to be an entrepreneur. They might not have the time to start something from scratch, which is really hard. And this is a really good way to diversify your portfolio, especially if you have specific skill sets from corporate America.
Yeah. And then probably there's a lot to figure out. Obviously, people think, oh, I want to do this type of franchise or that, but that might be not one because they like the product or they already go there or whatever. But what are some ones that are doing really well? Are they like more service-based? Or I think you said earlier, a lot of people know most franchises is like fast food joints or something like that, but go into more on some of those things that people might not be thinking about when it comes to franchise.
Yeah. So look, you triggered a lot of thoughts, right? About things you're talking about, like things such as, hey, how expensive are franchises? I have things that are over $1 million plus, and I have things that are as low as about $125,000 or $150,000 all in.
Okay.
And that's including financing, right? They're all different loans. You can use your 401k without penalty. So instead of investing in Amazon, you get to invest in yourself without penalty.
Interesting.
So it's the actual IRA that owns the franchise business. What I would also say is that I believe that people look at franchises the wrong way.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that you're right. They kind of see something like doing, like, hey, I love this ice cream, or I went to Hawaii. This Hawaiian ice was amazing. How do I bring this to my home region?
Yeah.
But you might like Hawaiian ice, but maybe you don't like low-wage employees. Maybe you don't like really low-ticket item, meaning you're paying a lot for rent.
Yeah.
Even if it's an amazing Hawaiian ice, it might be like $4 or $5 per ice. How many ices do you need to sell in order to make rent? What I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to figure out the right characteristics for you, whether or not it's low employee headcount, high margin, whatever that might be. And then based on these criteria or characteristics, then narrow it down to the top 3 for you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense because it's like something that, and then just your area where you put the location, if there's a physical location, because there are other ones, like you said, the cleaning services. So did you have an office for that, or how did that work as far as like a business like that would go? What is that?
So again, there's another misconception, meaning people think, oh, I set up this brand, right? And I'm going to set up this physical location and people are going to come. 80% of my placements now are non-brick and mortar. Yes, I had a physical location, but it wasn't like on Main Street, right? It wasn't in a class A. It was kind of this office flex space where rent wasn't particularly expensive. So I have all different types of brands. Yes, I have things that are traditional brick and mortar, but I have non-brick and mortar businesses as well.
Okay. Yeah. And those might be like you said, better because you don't need as many employees possibly. It depends on the business. And yeah, I think I like what you said in the beginning too. It's like for somebody who doesn't want to have to work for a company, you're getting your own business, but you have the blueprint and the playbook to follow. And I think that's a really cool first step. And how do you know if a franchise, like what makes a franchise successful? Like, is it the person who's running it? They obviously give you the playbook depending on what company it is, but there's risk, a lot of risk involved.
There is risk involved, no question. The idea is to mitigate risk through franchising, right? Look, if someone were to ask me, and I'm going to bring a prop right here. I am in Texas, right? So I don't mean to be too Texan. And this is not a live bullet, right? But we talk about silver bullets in Houston or in Texas in general. Someone asked me, what's the secret sauce for whether or not someone's a great franchisee or not? And let's just talk about some assumptions. It's a great franchise brand, great playbook, right? Right location. It's about the potential franchisee. It's whether or not they've done the things that they need to do in order for this thing to be successful. If they're following the model and following the blueprint and doing everything possible for success.
Yeah. I've seen there was like a reality show that I watched and some of them are franchises. I think one is like turning franchises around, but like some of them they go in there and they're like making up their own recipes, doing all this stuff. And the guy's like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't your...
What is this? Which show is this?
I'll have to look it up and send it to you. Yeah. I think it was like
I've seen things about bars like like Bar Impossible or something like that. Yeah,
it
like
might have been one of those shows, but it was a franchise that they were flipping, ones that they've helped turn around or whatever.
okay,
Yeah, on the Food Network. I love those shows. So interesting.
me too.
Yeah, I mean, I think tell us more about your background in real estate. Like, did you get out of that completely, or what's your thoughts on real estate now and where that's going?
So I'm a value investor. I am only looking at yields, right? I just don't. This whole thing, one of the things I don't understand about California real estate is people say, when you ask, hey, what's your cap rate? So we don't really have a cap rate. It might be negative, but we think that we're going to get greater valuation in 5 years. I'm all about income. So I found this interesting niche in Texas, and it doesn't exist anymore. And I'm kind of excited. Frankly, it's not good for the market in general, in my opinion, but if Harris is elected and they give out $25,000 per house,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a residential real estate investor again. The thing that I found in 2008, the loophole is they gave $8,000 per house whenever someone bought a house. And I used to be in a situation where I bought bank-owned houses in the Houston area or in Austin, and I would owner finance them to people. That was my market. And I still own about 10 of those properties. And it's been a really good thing for me. I've had it now for almost 15 years or 16 years, some of my properties.
Wow, that's amazing.
Been a good run.
Yeah, that's great. But you're more focused now on franchise coaching and all that. It's like your passion and what you really want to pursue.
Look, I love creating entrepreneurs, right? It's really what I wake up and get excited about doing. I mean, my favorite placements are people that are like, look, I'm this great chief. I've been in corporate America for a long time, and I'm in the C-suite, and I've always had this dream, and now I can make this happen. And the way they can make it happen is through franchising, and a lot of it's about exit plan for people.
Yeah, so they're transitioning from their career or a different career to this.
Maybe not right now, but they want to have a plan in 5, 10, 15 years to exit and transition out. So they run the business semi-absentee now, and then eventually they're able to run it full-time. Or maybe their spouse is running it full-time now.
What do you think gets you so excited about helping create entrepreneurs? What is it about your past or how you grew up that you think?
So look, my dad probably was not a corporate America type. He really wanted to provide for his family, but every day that he came home, he went to this rocking chair, just fell asleep from exhaustion, right? So he's the kind of guy that would have been a great franchisee, not necessarily good at creating process from scratch, but probably good at following a model. Very personable guy, not afraid to follow different processes. He was actually an IT himself, right? Just having an opportunity where I could have people like my dad that really get swallowed up by corporate America and making a difference in their life. I think that what you do for every day, 8 hours a day or more, makes a really big impact for you, your family. I just feel like it's creating positive outcomes for people.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I think having that reason why and then seeing that and being like, A, that's not how I want to live my life. And then B, I think I can figure out a way to help other people not have to do that as well. Because that's like a conditioning that a lot of us are taught. And things have been different. It is, I think, easier. It's become easier to build a business or have those passions on the side with the internet and all those things. Yeah, but that's really interesting how that fueled you. And is he still alive now?
He is.
That's great. Yeah. Does he want to get into franchise? Is he retired now or what's his?
He's 82.
Oh, he's 82. Okay. Love it.
Never too late. Never too late.
Yeah, never too late. Like Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? He started in his 70s, I think.
Exactly. And look, let's kind of expand upon this, where the best thing is if somehow, I call it like this, like unbelievable apex, where you can make a lot of money, right? Margins that would make you blush, but it's like your calling, right? Like I have some really feel-good businesses. One that comes to mind is things related to home healthcare, right? We have a silver tsunami. And for the right person that's looking to really make an impact in their community, a lot of people need a lot of help throughout the United States, right? The idea of non-medical help for the senior community is a big deal. You could potentially really make a huge impact and make a lot of money. And that's a really good situation. It can even become a calling for the right candidate.
Yeah, because I think the number one thing, no matter what you're doing, if you're not helping other people in some way, you're always going to feel like you don't have a purpose of some
Yeah.
sort. I believe no matter how you're helping the people, like just being able to, for me, that's coaching and being able to see people change their financial future. And
Yeah.
it's the same too. You can't make it about, obviously you want the rewards, like the financial rewards for yourself, but making it about a bigger vision is really important.
Absolutely. And from my point of view, and look, not every placement that I make works, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard for me when I make a placement and it hasn't worked out. And again, the number one reason is that the person just doesn't follow the model or the system, but that still irks me.
Yeah. You're like, come on, figure this out
Yep.
right here.
You can lead a fish to water, but you can't, or a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah. So trust me, in coaching, it's the same. Like people want you to do everything for them. Like I can give you the structure and like this accountability and support, but you have to do the work. Like
Yes.
figure it out, follow the plan. So before we get into the final round, I just want to ask you, what are some of your long-term goals now? What does your future look like and where do you want to take this?
That's such a great question. Look, my business as a business owner is something where I get compensated whenever I make a successful match, right? So there's no sort of residual in
Okay.
my day-to-day life, right?
Yeah.
And I have other investments myself, right?
Yeah.
It might be different real estate deals that I participate as an investor, or things that I have as a real estate investor, or different interests that I have in different businesses. From a financial point of view, my goal is to have as many things that are passive as possible or semi-passive in my life, where that's what I'm looking to grow in general, income, that is different investments. And it might be dividends or things of that sort from a financial point of view. And I see myself in 5 or 10 years doing this same thing and being passionate about helping people, but having other really good investments, whether that's as an angel investor or a real estate investor, things that are really providing me with income where I'm not necessarily working so hard for that income, making smart investments.
Yeah. And is that for more time freedom, like being able to hang out with your family more? Like what's the reason for that?
That's great because frankly, I'm in a wonderful situation here. I'm talking to you in my V-neck t-shirt, right? I mean, it's like, this is my uniform now, right? I mean, look, I love my lifestyle. And that's not going anywhere. I love my freedom. So I already have this with my family, right? I have young daughters, right? I get to see them and hang out with them and be with them. I don't want to give up this freedom for sure. I don't really need to give that up, but I think I want more, right? More of this freedom. And I think that my priorities are going to probably evolve in 5 or 10 years. I know in the past 5 or 10 years, they did evolve. So for instance, things such as self-care, or obviously hanging out with family is great, but just kind of enlightenment is something that is a different thing in my day-to-day than was 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Just having more space for that. I think that's really important. Just like slower mornings, like being able, same, like all those type of things that you can take for granted when you're like, or when you're so used to working that 9 to 5 or whatever it is, commuting, doing this, doing that, and then being able to provide even more, take for your daughters in the future and things like that, like all those things.
Look, I want my daughters to not worry about having to marry someone if they decide they want to marry, right?
Yeah.
I want them to be able to marry whoever they want, not to feel pressure to marry someone because of how much money the person has or doesn't.
Yeah, and empower them.
Yep.
With financially as well.
Absolutely.
Showing them what they can accomplish too, because that's what I see is a lot of women get stuck in just that relationship dynamic of the man making more, or there's just like not having that relationship together, even having that conversation together, which is really unfortunate.
I get excited about women franchisees, right? I have a lot of franchisees that are women. Now, I'd say the majority is typically men, right? Yeah. But whenever I see women come out there and it just gets me very excited and jazzed up. And there are certain businesses that frankly, women feel more comfortable than others, right? I had someone say, hey, I prefer this business. It was a business that had female employees because I think this would be the one that I'd feel more comfortable with these employees than dealing with blue collar guys that would be running this business for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And it is another opportunity for women to get into something like this when they want to have that financial freedom too.
And the fact that I have brands that are pre-screened in 75 different industries means that I have options for women, for men, for whatever it might be.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. That's great for our audience to know. Well, let's jump in the final round. I have 4 or 5 questions left. What's the biggest mistake that you've ever made when it comes to your finances and or business life?
Great question. Look, I'm a trusting person, right? And I have done a couple times, right? I've made these, I really believe in this adage that if it's too good to be true, it probably is, right? And I just like anyone else, I love playing the game cash flow from Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
I've made loans before to people without any collateral. And every single time I've done that, I've gotten burned, right? Meaning it's just, you just know it's not going to work out. Great interest rate, right? But no collateral, it was silly that I did it in the past, and I regret those things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the mistakes you learn from, obviously, but you always like, oh shoot. Well,
Yep.
it was good to know, good to remind myself. What's something that you've learned that you wish you would have known when you first started out doing this?
This specific gig?
Yeah.
What I would say, if someone were to ask me, what's the essence of this business, right?
Yeah.
It's about really empowering people around you in order to allow them to find out about franchising. So when I first started this out, I had no idea how to reach the most amount of people possible. So I think one of the mistakes a lot of people in my industry make is they're a one-person gig, right? Meaning that they don't really scale. They don't think of it as a business. If we talk about entrepreneurship, and I believe the mistake people make, you think about the E-Myth by Gerber, people just try and wear too many hats. I'm very blessed in that I have a team behind me that helps me with different things. And I'm able to really focus on what I'm focusing on myself. So if I could talk to myself 7 years ago, I'd say, don't try and do all this on your own. Try and have people around you that are experts in other things and focus on what you do best.
That was what another woman said just the other day, was like not hiring soon enough and getting others and doing it all on your own. And I think, that is part of it's like the control of entrepreneurs that we like, oh, we can just do it ourselves. It's faster. We don't want to train people. The other part is like, oh, we got to pay somebody money to do, we want to keep the money that we're making. So there's that fine line, but I think that's definitely really good advice. That a lot of people don't want to hear, but know that they need to. So do you have any tips or tricks that you would recommend to someone who's getting started franchising or in your business coaching?
So someone that's in a similar industry as me.
Yeah.
I think that the second thing that I mentioned is this is the most powerful, to delegate and to hire as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And how do you find those people? Like, to kind of go deeper on that, like where you go seek those people out? Is it now LinkedIn or some of those? Do you post jobs?
Look, I think that one of the best things about the new world reality we live in now is that with so many things being done digitally, not everything, but many things can be done not only in the United States or Canada, many other places. I'm proud to say that a lot of my key staff is located outside of the United States. And I think that people that only stick to the United States are really doing themselves a disservice.
That's a really good point. Yeah. There's a lot of other ways, even if you're hiring a virtual assistant or somebody just to do some of the back end work or technical work. That's a really good point. Do you have any favorite business, investing, or real estate related books or podcasts, or both, that you like?
I love Acquired. I think that's great. Have you heard of Acquired before?
I've heard of that, but I haven't read that.
Okay, so that's a podcast. These guys they're from San Diego. They dig really deep into different subjects. I specifically love the Costco episode, where they talk about how Costco was started and just all these different things related to Costco. I'm a huge fan of that brand. I didn't realize how much money they make from just their membership portion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this as well, but Kirkland Signature, their in-house brand, is actually the most popular brand in the United States.
Wow. No, I didn't know that. That's really makes sense. Yeah, when you think about it, but yeah, I love it. That's really cool. Let's tell us about your book too. So
sure.
Let me hear more about like your book that you want to tell us about on franchising and the people that you interviewed. Tell us more about that.
You sounded very Texan there. That didn't sound very Northern California. Are you from Northern California originally?
I'm from Southern California. So.
Okay, got it. Okay, there you go. Look, the franchising lifestyle, I think, talks about this myth that you have with franchising, where people think that if I buy a franchise, it's only going to be in fast food. I'm going to be the one flipping burgers. I talk to real franchisees that are able to scale their business and I'm more focused on things that allow you to have a lifestyle and to have an exit plan from corporate America.
Yeah, I love that. And where can people find more information about you and find the book, website, social media, all those things?
So best place to find out it. So my ask is that if someone's potentially interested in franchising, book a 15-minute chat with me. I do promise that if I don't think you're a fit, I'll let you know.
Okay.
The best place to book that 15-minute chat would be at franchiseadam.com.
Okay.
And if you're just interested in just finding out more about me, and also you can book a link for my calendar on this site as well, it's franchisecoach.net.
Love it. Franchisecoach.net. We'll put everything in the show notes, so you guys check that out. And thank you so much, Adam. I think this is really beneficial. A lot of people are struggling right now in the job market in general, and I think this is just hopefully giving them some ideas on other ways that they can approach figuring out how to make money for themselves.
Tanya, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to our listeners. Thanks for joining us and our special guest, Adam, on the Average Joe Finances podcast. Make sure you go and leave us that 5-star review. Let us know what you liked about today's episode and share this with somebody who needs it too. Aloha from Hawaii, says Mike, and me from Arizona today, and Adam from down in Houston. See you guys soon.
Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Greatly appreciate you being here with me today on the Average Joe Finances podcast. If you haven't done so yet, make this the episode that you go leave us a 5-star rating or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Average Joe Finances podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Have an outstanding day.